So Allianz is proven to be very resilient. I cannot talk about numbers. I can do that in about 4 weeks. But we are doing very well in a very difficult environment. So it's very good. But I don't measure that on financials. 2022 was the year where we had the highest customer satisfaction ever in our history by a far margin. About 70% of our countries are the loyalty leader now in what they do, depending on how you run that. Probably 60% we can be damn sure of. And we have employee satisfaction that is beating almost every company in the world. So we are very resilient because people do value resilience or resiliency, depending on where you come from, in a difficult world. Now, the issue is, on your question, we are very much overestimating short-term problems, but underestimating long-term problems. So we are, think about Germany. Everybody said, you know, we will have a cold winter, everybody will run out of gas, we have to ration. That was extremely well managed by our government, but the fundamental problem of how we retool our energy supplies, how do we really retool the business model, how do we, you know, actually get proper defense in line, how do we become less dependent on a few countries, has not been solved yet.
So, with all that in mind, and again, just pulling on the previous question from Jeff about markets, I mean, you are one of the biggest asset managers in the world. You run PIMCO as well. It's part of the organisation as well. How tough is it to invest in these current markets, knowing all that you know there about the medium to longer term ignorance of those risks?
So 2022 was one of the worst in terms of environment that you can imagine. Equities and bonds going down, and you know that all the classical theories haven't really worked. And it was enormously challenging for our colleagues at PIMCO, who, by the way, run themselves. And we just make sure the governance and the controls work, but also on the insurance side. Now, number one, we are now benefiting tremendously from rates rising in the insurance business because we had real challenges with the guarantees, because everybody knows that. But it's not been priced yet. It's recently people come to understand that the higher rates are really, really good for us as a life insurer. And as interest rates level out, bond flows will come back. And in this environment, you really want to be with somebody who knows what they're doing. So I'm very optimistic for our asset management business.
And yet, inflation does mean that claims are inflated as well. So as much as you're making up the gains in some areas of the business, there are consequences elsewhere.
Yeah.
Could you just talk a little bit about that and some of the hits in the insurance space?
Yeah, it's very true. So let's start with automotive insurance, where we see spare parts prices going up, sometimes double-digit. Not always clear whether it's really driven by raw materials, but maybe ultra competition on selling cars, right? So we have to make sure we price them real time up. And it's very sad for the consumers because when they're losing disposable income, they have to spend more. And we are really trying everything to keep claims inflation under control. And the other one, however, we always talk about climate change, and then everybody's surprised when we have more natural catastrophe claims. Think about the UK with the floods and everything that has happened. And everybody says, how could that happen? Well, it's just a fact of life. We need to prepare more. So we have two types of inflation, and we're taking care of both. We need to massively reprice, which is really bad. And we need to talk to governments on how to do more on prevention and less than just paying for things.